Out of all the hidden gem parks that I've been to, none have had the feeling of being as remote as Magic Springs in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Home to only 4 operating coasters, this park is mainly a water park with coasters adjacent. But even so, it was the credit of riding the rare X coaster that was my main drive for this trip. And after experiencing what this park had to offer, I left with a mixed reception. So let me tell you the good, the bad, and the weird of Magic Springs. My name is Avery, and this is United Coasters. Located in the northeast of Hot Springs, Arkansas, about 5 hours east of Frontier City, surrounded by hills and hills of greenery, is Magic Springs Theme and Water Park. First opened in 1978, this place always had the water park at the forefront of its operation. And even though that has been consistently expanding, it's the coaster collection that has been completely changed throughout the decades. For instance, their first ever extreme coaster was Roaring Tornado, an aero launched loop model similar to Diamondback at Frontier City. Fast forwarding to today, Magic Springs has 4 coasters in operation, with Arkansas Twister recently being retired to a standing but not operating status. That leaves the park with 2 extreme coasters, a thrill coaster in Big Bad John, and the family coaster Diamond Mine Run. Alright, so let me address the elephant in the room. When I went to Magic Springs, X Coaster was closed. But even so, I still got 3 new credits in the other rides, and to make it up to you, I'll break down the layout and give some info about X Coaster, as well as tell you my experiences on the other 3. And if you enjoy what I have to say, you could subscribe and maybe leave a like. Sitting at the back left of the park is the Mara Rides Skyloop Model X Coaster. This coaster is unique in that it's the only one of its kind in all of the US, all of the Americas actually, with it having 10 others in its place like Germany, China, Spain, and Finland. This unorthodox ride starts with you and 11 riders being pulled out of the station and immediately beginning to lift vertically 151 feet before you get pulled horizontal upside down and flipping upright to the left. You complete the twist going left again into a dive loop. That bottoms out into the station where you rocket through going back up the lift hill. Momentum takes over as you rock back through the station into the middle of the dive loop. You coast through the station once again where you rise into the lift hill before being caught by the chain lift and sent slowly back to the bottom. Despite its small footprint, X Coaster is the main pull to the park for coaster enthusiasts. And in terms of presentation, I can't blame them. There is literally no other coaster like this for miles. Similar in design to a premier ride Skyrocket 2, I can only speculate that the forces experienced on that kind of ride are somewhat reflected on the Mara Rides coaster, albeit more slowly. With that in mind, the initial chain lift flipping you upside down has got to send you into a head rush, and the drop off the dive loop most likely feels like a gut punch, kinda like the Skyrocket 2 model's last drop. Despite not being able to ride it during my visit, I'm glad that it's still standing and operational. What I mean by this is that in 2012, Magic Springs made an announcement that X Coaster was set to be removed from the park in order to expand its existing water park. It was proposed to relocate X Coaster to Elitch Gardens in Denver, Colorado. However, X Coaster's removal was delayed virtually indefinitely when the park discovered that large parts of the ride had been welded together during the assembly. Unlike traveling coasters, where manufacturers create them with transportation in mind, using easy to assemble parts and bolts ready for fast deployment and movement, X Coaster had its parts welded together, meaning it looks like this coaster is here to stay for the time being. Moving on to a coaster that I actually rode, we have the Gauntlet. Created by Vekoma, their suspended looping coaster models, or SLCs, carry a horrendous reputation in that they are janky on transitions. On top of that, the restraints are some of the most bulky and uncomfortable looking I've seen, making the ride experience a claustrophobic one. That may be true for the majority, but for Gauntlet, I was surprised about how smooth this coaster was. After climbing the 109-foot lift hill, you drop to the right and into the signature element on these types of coasters, the rollover. This starts as an Immelman, but rolls you at the apex, pushing you to the left and completing the element as a dive loop going the original direction. For a better visual, let's look at the SLC Thunderhawk at Michigan's Adventure. Here you can see the element more clearly, and it's as chaotic as it looks. After exiting, you rise into a sharp bank turn to the left, pitching you down into a sidewinder. This starts as a vertical loop, but rolls you and turns out sharply to the right. It's here where Gauntlet gives out powerful positive G's as it turns you to the right, almost like an off-axis helix, and immediately rolls you into a double inline twist. After, you take subsequent right and left turns with minimal airtime before hitting the brakes and coasting into the station. If I could describe Gauntlet in one word, it would be relentless. Despite its similarity to a B&M invert, the nuances of the elements and profiling of the ride gives the SLC its own identity. From the first drop, you're rarely positioned exactly underneath the track as Gauntlet keeps you off axis on its turns and small hills. And the rollover element is the star of the show, with the sudden changes of positive and negative forces throughout it. Regarding Vekoma's reputation with its SLCs, I have got to recommend Gauntlet to coaster fans if they want to get a good experience on this type of ride model. It more than made up for X Coaster being closed for me, and should be the star attraction for this park in my opinion. I'm not saying that Gauntlet was a perfect coaster without jank, but the elements far outweigh the minimal discomfort, especially when you ride it in the front. Just don't expect that much airtime since it's an inverted coaster. Next we have the thrill ride Aero Mine Train Coaster Big Bad John. Right off the bat, the best thing going for this coaster is the terrain. Being placed on hills with nothing but trees in the immediate sightline makes Big Bad John the most remote coaster in the park. You start by turning left out of the station, then to the right, to the first of a total of 3 lift hills, with the first one taking you to the max height of 32 feet. Being a thrill coaster, the drops on this ride are kind of like steps, as the coaster swings left and then right, rounding to the second lift hill. This one exits into a straight section before curving down to the right. You then pop up and straighten out into the final lift hill. This section of the ride has you coast underneath the middle portion before turning you to the left and dropping you into a tunnel. And this drop is the most thrilling part of the ride, but it is short-lived as you immediately pop into the brakes leading into the station. Big Bad John isn't much in terms of excitement, but it does offer a sense of thrill while the scenery stills the show. Albeit, it's a good choice for young coaster enthusiasts to conquer a bigger coaster. Lastly, on the coaster side, we have the E&F Miler family coaster Diamond Mine Run. This is the smallest coaster in the park, but makes up for it in its track length by running 2 cycles per ride. Just from the presentation and placement in the park alone, one would think that this is the newest coaster at the park, but in actuality, it's the oldest currently operating. Diamond Mine Run opened in the year 2000, but still looks modernized due to its scenery and its figure 8 layout. You start by going up the short lift hill and turning left to complete its 2 hills, turning right going underneath the second hill and back into the station. You then do it all again as most kiddie coasters go. In terms of the ride aspect, there's not much of a wow factor for Diamond Mine Run, but it's a perfect ride for young fans of roller coasters. Also, it's in a great viewing area, as it's placed in between the other rides and attractions in the park. In terms of my experience of coasters at Magic Springs, that's about it, as the good was Gauntlet being better than I expected, and the bad being that X Coaster, the reason I wanted to go here in the first place, was closed. For the weird, I had to get into more detail about the water park. As I mentioned before, Magic Springs draws the majority of its audience from the water park, and that's justified because it's impressive with a lazy river, a wave pool, and a major slide complex. Like with any other water park, the slides in some pools require inner tubes to access them. That's fair and all, but Magic Springs has a limited amount of free inner tubes for its guests, essentially encouraging you to pay for an all-day inner tube. So much so that you can even purchase a season pass for inner tubes on their website. And I don't know if this is common, but I've never seen a park use this season pass tactic before. And frankly, I'm not a fan of it. Imagine a family of 4, and each one wants their own inner tube. You have to pay $10 a tube, meaning a total of $40 just to use the slides. Or alternatively, wait for someone to give up a free one. Let me know in the comments if I'm in the minority for this take, but that's just insane. All in all, Magic Springs theme and water park definitely serves its purpose to provide a fun and family-friendly experience to the locals of Arkansas. And unlike the other hidden gem parks that I've been to, like Frontier City in Oklahoma, there's not too many coasters is missing in its lineup to make it worth a complete visit. With that in mind, I would put my ranking of Magic Springs in terms of rarity at a solid 4. It gets bumped up from a 2 or 3 since it's more than just one coaster, and the rarity of X Coaster when it's running. But it's not going to go any higher due to its lineup. That said, I can't really justify going to this park unless you're a local, passing through Arkansas, or just a diehard coaster fan like myself. If you've been to Magic Springs, been on X Coaster, lucky, or just want to talk about coasters in general, leave a comment below. Also, if you stayed this far, leave a like and subscribe too. Lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching, and remember to stay united.